You're tuned to The Drive on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. Steelers Nation Radio.
Good afternoon, Steeler Nation. It is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson with you here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where, well, I shouldn't say exactly 2 weeks from now because we'll still be a couple hours away, but
That's pretty close.
Just about 2 weeks from now, there will be hundreds of thousands of people on the North Shore, and the first round of the NFL Draft will be just about to get underway.
Even Wednesday night's going to be crazy. I mean, just so many people be coming in, right?
So that Wednesday night, April 22nd, just randomly, like every, maybe twice a month, my parents will reach out to my wife and I and be like, hey, how about this day we'll pick up the girls from school, we'll bring them home. You guys can.
And you would probably love hearing it.
You guys can go out to eat if you want. You guys can just hang at the house, get some stuff done if you need to.
Yeah. Take something off your plate.
Exactly right. Like they're doing that today for us.
That's good grandparenting there.
It's great grandparenting.
Yeah.
Big shout out to my parents. And again, sometimes we use it to get stuff done around the house. Sometimes we use it to run errands. Sometimes we use it to go
to the bar.
Exactly right. Just go to the brewery and have a couple beers and catch up and, actually spend some time with each other without the two rugrats.
Speaking of which, today's my 28th anniversary.
Oh,
how about that?
Happy anniversary
right.
to you and to Nikki and to the Williamson gang. Heck yeah, 28
the
years
grandparents
strong.
are a little less helpful at this point.
I would imagine so.
But they did their yeoman's work.
That's funny. Well, congratulations to you and Nikki, and here's to 28 more plus. But so my mom, when I was talking to her earlier today, she was like, how about, we could also do this maybe again, I don't know, like maybe Wednesday the 22nd. Which
sounds fine.
Which sounds great.
Right.
And Morgan, my wife, goes, that's like a week before Fatheads closes down. We should go down to Fatheads on that Wednesday one last time.
Sure.
And I was like, sweetheart, that's the Wednesday before the NFL Draft.
And folks, you realize WVU, Morgantown, did you put the two together? It's a little crazy. It's a little. You were fishing from a very narrow pool. She's got to be. She either has to have WVU initials or Morgan in her name. Anyway, I know where you're going with it.
I do. If you watch on YouTube.
You did quite well, considering the parameters.
If you watch on YouTube, our first year of marriage was rough, not because any relationship reasons.
Yeah.
Because I never wear jewelry. I don't wear necklaces. I don't wear wristbands. I have never been a jewelry guy. I would take my wedding ring off all the time. I would leave it on our boards at the studio at work. I would leave it in the restroom. All the time. In the shower, I'd be trying to scrub my face, and I'd be like cutting myself with my wedding ring.
I know. Soap gets stuck under there a little bit once in a while.
So on our 1 year wedding anniversary, if you look on my ring finger, it just has Morgan tattooed, and I have not worn. We're coming up on our 10th wedding anniversary here in a couple months. I have not worn a ring since I got this tattoo. And she's made that joke before that, like, oh, well, if I ever left you, you could just get town put on the end.
Exactly right.
Morgantown. Nobody.
That is a good out.
But I told her, I was like, no chance.
Well thought out, my friend.
I was like, that Wednesday, April 22nd, I said, sweetheart, there is no chance I'm going downtown.
It's going to be lunacy.
It's going to be nuts.
Right.
It's going to be like a big party before the big party.
And everyone gets to sleep in the next day. That thing's going to go till close and then some.
Yes, exactly right. So about 12.
Great idea.
About 12, 13 days from now, it'll be getting nuts downtown, and just about 2 weeks from now will be the crescendo as the first round will be just about to kick off. With that, Matt, I loosely referenced this.
I mean, it's on the news like every day anyways. I mean, it's all the local stuff. You hear the draft.
Producer Nate Dogg was like, is it just me or are they doing a ton of stuff around the city? And we were like, oh, no. They're filling potholes and they've got the litter crews out cleaning up.
They're interviewing the mayors. It can be ready in time.
Exactly right. They're cutting all the grass along the highway and everything. Right. They are putting their best foot forward for the national TV audience.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Actually, I have one question for you that I should know the answer to. How does this work? And if you don't know, don't worry about it. But is the green room at the point?
The green room.
I
thought it was inside Acrisure Stadium.
Do the prospects somehow get on a boat and go from the point over across the river when they get announced?
TV's shaking his head
He's
no,
like,
and that
no,
was
dude.
my initial thought. But
Okay.
For some reason, I do feel like I've heard that before.
Because at Easter, my family was asking me about that. I'm like, that sounds nuts. You can't be like, with the first overall pick, the Browns select Myles Garrett. Then he gets on a boat.
And then it takes 15 minutes for him to...
Right.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a real good question. We're going to have to figure that out.
Something was going on at the point.
There
like
is.
Where all the prospects would hang until they got picked or something. But
we're going to have to dig into that more.
We'll find out later.
We're going to have to dig into that more.
I don't know any of what's going on.
We'll get
there.
our producers on it, see if they can figure it out by the time we come back from our next break.
I'm busy asking you about 7th-round quarterbacks.
Yeah, Matt's jumping in here and asking, how do you feel about this guy from Texas Tech?
Yeah.
Hey,
Camp Arm, you know.
I'll take it. Listen, I do not mind being the resident Big 12 expert around these parts. Matt, I wanted to run through, as we're going to be draft, as everyone can imagine, for the next 2 weeks here. I wanted to run through, and I referenced this once or twice yesterday, but the entire ESPN NFL staff, they all basically put out one draft comp, their favorite prospect to pro draft comparison. Some of these I love, some of these I hate.
I'm bad at comps, and you know my feeling. I mean, I don't need
tough.
Jim Brown and Lawrence Taylor as comps, but still, I'm not good at them. But I'll gladly sit back and criticize them.
Exactly. It is easier to critique than it is to create.
Yes.
And we will definitely do that in this exercise. And I will be the first one, too, to say it's a tough exercise. Coming up with these comps is not easy. The first one by Aaron Schatz is Kedrick Falk to Cam Jordan.
Not bad.
You and I are not particularly high on Kedrick Falk, but I tell you what, if he ends up being Cam Jordan, that is certainly a guy that's worthy of a top 15 pick.
I've actually used Eric Armstead, which is just not as good a version. I mean, Cam Jordan's had a better career. Both were first-round picks. Both were big edges that really are better kicked inside. So a lot of people have asked me, is he a 3-4 defensive end? He's not Cam Hayward.
Sure.
Just in terms of physicality and bumping in and all that stuff too. But I guess if he had to play in a LeBeau old school 3-4, he's closer to that than Kevin Green, obviously. But I think he's somewhere in between. I don't love him, but he's really good against the run. The length is obvious. If he walked in the door, it'd be like, whoa.
Oh, he's 6'6", 280.
Yeah. And he does things on the inside that are hard to find.
That's
not a bad comp.
That one I thought was a little encouraging.
Yeah.
In a way.
Usage, I think, will be similar.
Number 2, and I didn't love this one. Spencer Fanu to Charles Cross.
Ooh, I'm a Cross fan.
And I don't want to make it sound like I hate Charles Cross or anything, but I like to think that Fanu has a little bit higher of a ceiling than that.
Maybe. Cross was like the 10th pick in the draft, though.
And he's a good player.
And he's more of a finesse left tackle than he is bash your face.
Dancing bear.
He's really light on his feet. He's also longer. He doesn't have the arm length questions and things. No one ever thought Cross might be a guard.
Right.
But style plays, not crazy.
I guess Charles Cross just won a Super Bowl, so he's doing all right for
They're
himself.
quite happy with him.
This one I mentioned yesterday, Matt, and I don't like it, not because I hate the comp, but because I don't know. I hate how much I think it could be accurate. Maybe that's the way to put it. Jordan Tyson to Jerry Jeudy. Because I'm a big Jordan Tyson fan. I'm not the biggest Jerry Jeudy fan, but as they lay it out, I can kind of see it. They have the quickness to separate. They have the speed, but sometimes they do too much at the line of scrimmage with their release. Sometimes they struggle with physicality through the route and through the middle of the field.
Okay. Funny, I didn't read this before, but we kind of summed this up exactly yesterday.
That was Ben Solak.
Yeah, okay. We pretty much exactly did this yesterday. Again, the highlights are great.
Omar Cooper Jr. to Rashee Rice, that one by Field Yates.
Not bad. Physical, over the middle, tough guy. On the field, not off the field. Everyone says Debo, but Debo's almost like a running joke with me now. Someone's always compared to Debo every year, and no one really is.
Yes.
But I do think he's got more after the catch than Rice. Not the Debo level, but I think he's harder to get on the ground after the catch and can run away from you more than Rice. Rice is probably better route runner at the catch point guy.
This next one is the biggest ask, but I don't think it's crazy. It was also done by Jeff Legwald, who TV might remember the hour at the combine that Pursuta and I did in the mornings.
Yeah.
Just Pursuta and I, the 1 hour in the morning. Jeff Legwold actually sat down with us and did like a beefy 35-minute segment.
Oh, cool.
The one day. He's ESPN's
Did Mike know him? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Him and Pursuta go way back. He's ESPN's longest tenured reporter. Okay. It was like his 20,
so he was there when I was there.
It was like his 28th combine that he covered or something like that.
Yeah. He's always done good work, yeah.
It was a really fun. We just spent a half an hour with him kind of nerding out over the history of the combine and how much it's changed in his 3 decades of covering it. Arvell Reese to Micah Parsons.
Yeah, and I honestly don't have a problem
Somebody
with
had
that.
to do it. I don't think, again, most of the time when you're comparing guys to the best of the best, it's like, really? But this one I don't think is too far-fetched.
I mean, he's going to be a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
It may be number 2. So, if you want to be a little, bring it back to earth, Walker last year from Georgia, Jalon Walker, had some of that too, off the ball to edge, but he was 15th pick in the draft or whatever. Somewhere between those, And you'd be happy, I think, even if you took him at 2. Because I think Walker's a really good player.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Next one we discussed yesterday as well, Monroe Freeling to Broderick Jones. Makes a lot of sense. Might be low-hanging fruit, but both had just one year as a starter at Georgia, both young, both a ton of upside, but they need some polish and some work.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Georgia's interesting because, their D lineman, this goes back to Walker, who actually I just brought up, or Walker that was a first-round pick of the Jags, or all the guys this year. They're so talented, they don't play a lot of snaps, on the D line. So they just bring in hockey lines of defensive linemen. The offensive tackles, Freeling, Broderick Jones, they would have been 4-year starters at Pitt or WVU.
Absolutely. They would have walked on campus and right into the starting lineup.
But Freeling had to wait for, I assume, Jones, Mims, the guys before him. I mean, it's just tough to get on the field.
Yes. It's 5-star after 5-star after 5-star.
Yeah.
And when you're a defensive lineman, it can work out well. Because as you mentioned, you're just like a hockey line. It's just line change, and everybody gets their snaps. But offensive line, that's not the case.
Right.
This is the one, Matt, that I was most interested to hear your thoughts on. Made by Jordan Reed. He compares Francis Mauigoa to Darnell Wright. One of my crushes in Darnell Wright.
I think Wright's already a top 5 right tackle and only going up. I mean, there's some Lane Johnsons and Penny Sewells ahead of you that's going to be hard to get overcome.
I'll thank Dana Holgerson once again for not recruiting him to WVU because he thought West Virginia kids couldn't play high school football. Thanks for that one, Dana. He was only a top 10 pick in the draft.
I mean, that's rich, but it's not insane. No one ever thought Wright might be better at guard, though.
That's the kicker with some of these.
Bit of that, yeah. I think Wright's a little lighter-footed, a little more pure tackle, but style of play isn't crazy far off.
No, in fact, if I was a Mauigoa backer, which I'm
a fan.
I'm a fan.
He was high on my top 21.
I think if I was tasked with drafting the first offensive lineman, forget where it's at, right? But just who is the first offensive lineman you take off the board? It'd be him or Fanu. So,
yeah.
But that one was interesting to me.
That's a good one.
Jonah Coleman to David Montgomery.
Ooh. I bet Montgomery's taller. I don't know their dimensions, but they're both really hard to get on the ground. Coleman, to me, is one of those.
Coleman's 5'8", 220. Good Lord, that guy's a refrigerator.
I mean, he is a round bowling ball of butcher knives type. Yeah, I mean, he's a rare body type for thickness. He's like a Jerome Bettis. Just scale him down a little,
What would Wolf always say? He's a 10-pound potato and an 8-pound sack or something like that. That line that Wolf used to always say.
Montgomery's not quite as weird of a build.
And an 8-pound sack.
Montgomery's not quite as weird a build, but they're both tackle breakers. Don't give you a lot to wrap your arms around,
This one makes me laugh, and I think once I lay it out, everyone will understand why, but I want to get your, let's say, less biased view of it. Kyle Lewis, the Pitt linebacker, to Derek Brooks.
That's bonkers.
Made, of course, by Louis Riddick, a former Pitt player. So, Hey, there's some homerism there, which I, as a guy who loves my alma mater way too much, can respect.
Yeah.
But are we really going to compare Kyle Lewis, who we don't even know what position he's going to play in the NFL, to one of the best linebackers of all time, a Hall of Fame, Super Bowl champion, 9-time All-Pro Derek Brooks?
Now, teams don't run like a pure 4-3 stack like the Bucs used to with that will linebacker. And really, a lot of the design of that 4-3 is to have the weak side Derek Brooks guy be untouched.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else does their job, and obviously having Sapp and those guys around helps. And I guess Lewis would be okay in that role.
I'm intrigued.
But he'd still be light.
I'm intrigued by Kyle Lewis, but this is comparing him to quite literally the best possible.
That's Hall of Fame
that he could ever be.
Yeah.
I mean, let's compare every running back. Let's compare running back to Emmitt Smith. You know what I mean, or to Jim Brown, like you said. I mean, Derek Brooks is for what he because they do have the one olive branch I'll give is they do have the similar body types and builds and that type of thing. But
but Brooks is even a better take on blocker guy. He's better at everything.
Yes,
of course.
He's a first ballot Hall of Famer, 9-time All-Pro.
This goes back to every year there's a Debo comparison. Since that year he got all the carries, like 2, 3, 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
This year everyone wants Emanwari. I thought Lewis would be, he's Emanwari this year because is he a safety? Is he a linebacker? We don't even care because the league doesn't care anymore. Well, you better kind of care.
You better a little bit.
Yeah.
Next one. This one I'll be interested to hear your thoughts because we're both a fan of Chris Bell. Mm-hmm. His comp is A.J. Brown by Matt Bowen.
I actually brought that name up yesterday on a podcast. I mean, and of course I preface it by like, this is best case scenario. I even brought up T.O. I mean, like, big thoroughbred trying to get down, running over the middle of the field. He has some of those traits.
Strides.
Yeah. Has some of those traits. But then we also have been like, he could be like the Titans' first-round pick a couple years ago, Burks, who was just also big and fast, but can't run routes and do all the little things. Mm-hmm. And we mentioned Bell yesterday. I mean, I just hope that his injury doesn't prohibit him from being on the field before too long,
It's tough to hop on a moving train at that position. Next one, we've mentioned this a few times, Sonny Styles to Fred Warner. That's another.
I actually am okay with that.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, right. If you're an elite prospect, I'm okay with that. He probably won't get there,
Mel Kiper Jr. compares Zachariah Branch to Zay Flowers. I like that one.
Okay.
Both 5'9".
They're both little.
Both about 180 pounds.
Yeah. Flowers is a much more developed route runner coming out of BC, though. I mean, everything Branch. I read his perception this morning, just coincidentally. A very high percentage of his targets are at or behind the line of scrimmage. I mean, unusual amount. Branch might be better after the catch. Like ball in his, that's why they did it.
Yes.
Get him in his hands, total jitterbug. I sent you something from Todd McShay today about satellite players.
Oh, did you?
And just about like little guys that are great with their ball in their hands, returners, things like that. That's who I think Branch is. But like Flowers can line up in 2 receiver sets all day long. I don't think Branch ever can.
That's something he's going to have to prove.
Yeah,
that's certainly something he's going to have to prove.
Just line up traditional Metcalf on one side, Flowers on the other, or Branch on the other, and beat man coverage. I'm not there yet on Branch.
3 more here, and these are all 3, I think, fair and intriguing in their own way. The first, Fernando Mendoza to Matt Ryan.
I've heard that many times. I've heard a little bit of Goff.
And I think some people might think...
I don't have a problem with it.
I think some people might think that's underwhelming on the surface.
No way.
At one point, Matt Ryan was a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. He
won an MVP.
He won an MVP.
He should have won a Super Bowl.
Should have won a Super Bowl. Now,
he was top 5 for a long time.
Yes,
too.
He's not.
And he was a top 5
He's not
pick.
Ben. He's not Brady. He's not in that echelon. But he was in the next.
He's a borderline Hall of Famer.
He's a borderline Hall of Famer.
Right.
He's a Hall of really gooder.
At worst.
Yes.
You take that all day long at first overall.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jermod McCoy to Stephon Gilmore.
That's a good one too. I mean, Gilmore was a premier prospect.
That was Mina Kimes with this one.
Okay, good one. Gilmore won Defensive Player of the Year.
Yes, he did.
I mean, he's not a...
Oh, he was outstanding.
I think he just retired yesterday, by the way.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Well, congrats to him on a
yeah.
great career. And then the last one by Teron Davenport is Reuben Bain Jr. to Brandon Graham.
I've heard that one a lot. I'm cool with that. I mean, he's also a shorter arm, stumpier, super high effort, run through your chest type of guy. Could reduce inside a little bit. I think it was Cosell was talking D-line today on a podcast I was listening and said a lot of people have used the Brandon Graham comparison. That's not new. But he said, I have issues about Bain's length. And I also have issues about Bain. All right, I'm going to go on a slight tangent.
Go for it.
Jason Taylor deserves a lot of credit. He's in charge of Mesidor and Bain, and he has maximized those guys.
That's right. Yeah, yes. I forgot about that.
Steelers should hire Jason Taylor. The Bears should hire Jason Taylor. He's doing a heck of a job as a coach.
He's going to have 2 first-round picks in the draft.
Yes, and that worries me a little from them because I wonder if they're maxed out, if they're coached up to the max of their potential. And everyone talks about Bain's length and short arms, and that worries me. I mean, he's an outlier, and outliers are a hard way to live. But he also doesn't beat many people just off the edge. Just first step. He didn't test it all, which is a red flag. His first step quickness and just bend, and because that's a cheap way to get sacks at the college level. Like, you could tell these slow tackles, hey, the fastball's coming and you can't hit it.
Sure,
where Joe Thomas will just sit on the fastball and drive it out of the park. So he doesn't really have that, and he doesn't have the length. But Cosell, one of those guys mentioned, like Brandon Graham, if I reduce him inside against guards on throwing downs, well, they're short-arm guys too, and you don't have to beat them off the edge. I mean, on 3rd and 8s, not 1st and 10s. That might be where he makes a little more money than I originally thought.
I forgot too. I didn't remember that Brandon Graham was the 13th overall pick. For some reason, I thought he was a day 2 guy.
And again, if he has a Brandon Graham career,
amazing.
Amazing. I mean, that's a Ring of Honor Eagle all day long.
Totally. He was there. I mean, he was the superstar when I was there, and they won the Super Bowl. He's the one who strip sacked Tom Brady in that Super Bowl to put the game on ice for the Eagles' first Super Bowl.
He's like the Cam Jordan. I mean, the Saints. I mean, some of those dudes are just
It's funny too, Teron Davenport making that one because he actually used to cover the Eagles, about 10 years ago before he went to ESPN. So of course he'd be seeing the Brandon Graham connection there. So there's some draft comps that I wanted to run through to start the show. We'll continue with the draft conversation as we roll along here in the first hour and really all day and really for the next 2 weeks. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It is The Drive, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network.
What's up, NFL fans? The NFL Draft is finally here. And while you might not know who your team is drafting this year, you do know your watch party's #1 pick, Bud Light. The clean, crisp taste that has all the scouts talking. Guess that's why it's been the group's go-to draft beer season after season. Be sure to order a round for the table before your team's on the clock. Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
All right, Matt, our intrepid producers are the crack staff that we have behind the scenes has solved the answer for us. There will be a green room. The green room for the NFL Draft will be in the Great Hall of Acrisure Stadium.
Gotcha.
Which is kind of like the main concourse area where the Hall of Honor used to be before they built the museum. Mm-hmm. You see the Super Bowl trophies and all of that in there. The red carpet
that can't be far from the stage.
No, the stage is right there. Yeah. The red carpet is down at the point. Where, for those who are not crazy familiar with our verbiage, that's where the rivers, the confluence of the rivers, where you see the waterfall. For those who might not live here, and like
the fountain,
fountain, not the waterfall, where the rivers converge. That you see the shots of all the time. That's where the red carpet is going to be.
Okay.
So players,
I think people know where the point is.
I think so, but listen, we have listeners from all across the country who
they're familiar that there's rivers in this city. Though,
they are. But listen, I'm just trying to paint the picture for everybody.
What everyone might not be familiar with is what's the difference between the green room and a red carpet.
That's what I had to ask.
Right,
That's what
I didn't know until quite a minute ago.
Green room is where they hang out when they're waiting to get drafted.
The best example for people to remember, Aaron Rodgers sat in the green room forever, and they kept going back and going back.
Exactly right. The red carpet is where they get dropped off, and they all the media can take pictures and all that good, and they show off their suits and everything.
Yeah. They walk the red carpet.
So they'll walk the red carpet at the point, and then they'll get on a Gateway Clipper and be boated across the water to Acrisure Stadium where they can hang out in the green room.
So I think this is safe to say, but like the Grammys or whatever, all the celebrities and stars walk the red carpet and everyone takes pictures.
That's a good example.
And they're great, and blah, blah, blah. Then they go to their seats or whatever. But like if you're backstage of Fallon, you're in the green room.
Correct.
Okay.
That's a very good way. That's a very good way to put it.
See?
Look at you.
Well-rounded.
That's Matt Williamson, pop culture extraordinaire. Matt, another article that kind of caught my mind that I wanted to run by some of this with you. I'll kind of leave it up to you if you want to do each team, if you just want to do the Steelers, if you want to do the AFC North. But latest draft intel and questions for all 32 teams via ESPN, what they're hearing. This just came out today, 2 weeks away from the draft.
Kind of go quick, rapid fire them?
Yeah. So for the Raiders.
There's not much to talk about there. So they must go draft order here.
Yes, and the question is they basically say we know who the Raiders are draft number 1. The questions are what's the best approach for the remaining picks to help surround Fernando Mendoza.
Okay, I think that's exactly how I'd lay it out too.
Totally, and we've seen how they've operated this offseason and adding to the offensive line and things like that. Pick 1, pick 36, pick 67, pick 102.
They need a lot of stuff, but one interesting take I heard is maybe you trade up to get Cooper to put with Mendoza, or trade down and get Surratt. Just somebody he's familiar with.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? Yeah. That's not a bad idea.
Make it as comfortable as possible.
Worked pretty well for Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase.
Not bad, right.
The Jets, what they're hearing about the Jets, 3 picks inside the top 33, and they are taking a true best player available approach for this draft.
They absolutely should.
And the question is, they're going to draft a quarterback, but when? Is it in the 4th round? Someone like Drew Aller? Would they try and get aggressive and get someone like Ty Simpson? But they will draft a quarterback, just when and where.
Okay. I always think Simpson is a Jets-Cardinals conversation.
So that's the thing for the Cardinals, too. The intel is the idea of trading back later into the 1st round for Ty Simpson has been discussed. Could the Cardinals go that route? And they feel comfortable about adding Isaac Seumalo and Elijah Wilkinson and what they've done.
Okay.
So they would love to get a high-end prospect like an Arvell Reese or a David Bailey, and then find a way to get Ty Simpson as well.
Okay. It's interesting they brought up Reese or Bailey because they're going to get one of the two if they care. I mean, a lot of people think it's going to be an O-lineman at 3, but they could get an edge rusher for sure.
Titans at 4. What they're hearing is that even with the signing of Wan'Dale Robinson, they are not done adding pass catchers, and that they could really, in rounds 3 and 4, kind of dig deep into that market.
Okay.
And that the big question is, will they draft Jeremiah Love at 4? It's very possible, and they love the idea of adding a ready-made playmaker for Cam Ward.
Okay. Now, I thought you were going to say Tate might be the option at 4.
Ooh.
But it sounds like they're thinking weight on receivers. Because you can. And, I mean, that's Steeler-related too, folks. Day 2 receivers are pretty strong.
Pretty strong. Number 5, the New York Giants. The Giants would not be shy about drafting an off-ball linebacker at 5, making Sonny Styles a real possibility.
Yeah.
But they feel like their biggest need is at right guard, where they are currently without a starter.
I can see Mauigoa being the pick.
If he's there at 5.
But they definitely could get Apr.9 or whatever.
I was going to say pick 37.
Round, right?
I think they'd be pretty confident with the guard choices on the board there at pick 37.
You know what? I've been thinking more. I did some interior O-line stuff because I turned in my final ranks on those dudes. Rutledge, Besantis, Apr.9. I thought for sure one to be there at 53. There's always attacks on these guys, and there's a lot of landing spot.
That like 33 to 49.
They could all fall.
Yeah.
They're all pretty good, too.
I'm a little worried about that, too.
And I hate to be like, I know better than everybody else. That's why I'd go O-line in round 1.
Cleveland Browns pick 6. They would love to be able to have the option to take Carnell Tate there. That's the name that they keep hearing most associated.
I think they run to the podium if he is at 6.
But if not, Mauigoa or Spencer Fanu are in high consideration at pick 6.
The thing with both those players is they would play somewhere on the Browns O-line. And I think that's important for the way their line's constructed. Some teams need a tackle, a guard.
Yeah.
They just need the best 5 they can put out there.
The Washington Commanders. Now, they only have 2 picks they pick 7th, but they only have 2 picks in the top 100. 7 and 71.
Yeah, they made some
That's it. So
they have a lot of needs.
They want to come away with a wide receiver and a cornerback. And they need to be precise and make sure they find the right guys.
Okay. So keep an eye on those teams that don't have a ton of picks. I mean, as trade down candidates.
Yes.
Maybe even in the 2nd round they could be trade down candidates. I keep thinking Steelers, I would prefer, not knowing what's available, I would prefer to trade down in round 1 unless somebody you didn't think was going to be there. I mean, Vega or somebody like that in particular. But trading up in round 2, either it's for one of those guards I mentioned or receiver starts to fall. Maybe Washington would be one of those candidates. You're short on picks.
New Orleans Saints, pick 8, 42, 73. They are a BPA type situation at 8, but they would love it if Carnell Tate fell and they could pair him with Chris Olave, a couple Ohio State guys.
That's I think, as far as he could fall.
But also, Tyler Shuck has already made his case to the franchise for Chris Bell, his former Louisville teammate. So that is something that they would strongly consider in the second round there.
Okay, well said.
Number 9, the Kansas City Chiefs. Feels like there is no strong indicator of what they want to do with their 2 first-round picks. They want to wait and see how the board falls. They would prioritize core positions such as offensive tackle, edge rusher, wide receiver, and cornerback. I think
those are the 4 spots.
A hot name to watch is Jermod McCoy and what they feel like they could develop him into like they've done with recent corners.
I think all that's dead on.
Cincinnati Bengals, pick 10. The Bengals are in prime position to address their quarterback need at pick number 10 with either Mansour Delane or Jermod McCoy. And after the signing of Boye Mafe, it sounds like the team is focused on addressing their secondary in round 1 as the priority.
Okay. I guess the more I think that through, the more I buy it.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was Downs versus cornerback 1, what they would do.
What if Downs and Delane and McCoy are all still on the board?
Right.
I don't know if that's going to happen, but it's a scenario I'd be interested in. It's not crazy, and I'd be very interested to see how that would play out if that were the case. Number 11, the Miami Dolphins. Talking about the Green Bay brass and the Packers tree. And historically, they value premium position in round 1, pass catchers on day 2. But with 11 picks, the Dolphins could get very aggressive and move up the board. Don't rule out Miami as being aggressive in the trade market and adding as much young talent as possible.
Okay. And I can see one of those 2 corners landing there, too.
They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
It's crazy.
They have 7 picks in the top 100.
I know.
We thought the Steelers were a lot with 5, which they are.
Right.
The Dolphins have 7 in the top 100.
Now they have 20 needs.
They have needs, and they are many. The Cowboys. Remember, the Cowboys have 2 first-round picks, 12 and 20.
A lot of people talk about them trading up.
But then they don't pick again until 92. So they would really like to add an instant impact player on the defense. Caleb Downs and Reuben Bain Jr. are believed to be 2 players that the Cowboys would maneuver for instant impact game changers on defense.
Okay. I hear them link to Styles as a move up, too. Man, there's plenty of options.
There certainly are.
They could just, whoever falls, jump up and get.
As much as we've talked about how this draft is underwhelming in a lot of ways, I do think there's a lot of guys in this draft that fit that instant impact on the defensive side of the football.
Which really fits like Dallas. Dallas is set on offense. They think they could at least throw their hat back in the ring as a contender. We got a bunch of picks. If I can go get a big-time dude, Downs or Styles.
If you're settled on offense and are looking through this at a defensive lens, it's in fact, maybe you could even argue you're in a good position in this draft.
I think so, too, especially if you're talking to teams at 5, 6, 7 that all want to go back. Maybe you don't have to pay as much to move up as you usually do either.
Rams at 13. The Rams don't do top 30 visits or workouts, which makes it harder to discern their draft processes. But sources around the league have pointed at linebacker as a potential early target, as well as wide receiver.
I definitely think wide receiver is very much in the mix. I think Lemon's perfect for them.
14, Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens have been connected to 2 pass catchers in Kenyon Sadiq and Jordan Tyson. They also have been big fans of Omar Cooper Jr., looking to boost the offense here in their kind of new look organization.
Okay. I mean, this reporter's closer to the team than I am, but I keep thinking that's Sadiq or Vega.
Okay, at 14.
And I would really hope it's Sadiq. Just
more options for the Steelers.
Right,
yeah, absolutely. Tampa Bay Bucks at 15. Defensive end is a position they're keying on in round 1. Yeah. They also like the idea of Kenyon Sadiq being a real possibility at pick 15. But their biggest needs, edge rusher, inside linebacker, and cornerback.
I don't know if there'll be a linebacker
at 15.
Right.
Because Sonny Styles is going to be gone.
Yeah.
So they feel like a real possibility to get one of those second tier of edge rushers, outside of the Arvell Reese and David Bailey and Reuben Bain.
I think they definitely could do that.
Detroit Lions here. Because remember,
I think this is O-line.
The Jets pick at 16. We already talked about the Jets, so we leapfrog pick 16 to the Lions. The release of Taylor Decker has prompted many to assume Detroit would go offensive tackle in round 1, but I've heard the Lions are equally high on filling their edge rusher needs.
They've looked for someone opposite Hutchinson for a while now and have not fulfilled that at all.
And they're another one. They have pick 17, pick 50, and then they don't pick again until 118.
Ooh, that's tough. I've kind of heard that Proctor won't get past the Lions.
Wouldn't surprise. He feels like a Dan Campbell type.
Yeah, I bet Campbell adores him.
Minnesota Vikings pick 18, 49, 82, 97. They
D-tackle safety.
They love the D-tackles and the safeties, particularly Dylan Theneman. There's a reason why he's been the most mocked player to the Minnesota Vikings, and for good reason. They see him as a seamless replacement for the veteran Harrison Smith.
Okay. I don't know what D-tackle you'd take there. I mean, that's reaching.
That's reaching. And day 2, it sounds like that's where they want to go.
I mean, even if Theneman's not there, I could see McNeil Warren being the pick. That doesn't have to be a safety, but there will be options.
That'll be a sweet spot there for them potentially at 18. Carolina Panthers at 19. They want to get Bryce Young more help. They are reportedly very high on Oscar Delp, the tight end out of Georgia that Matt likes.
And I can see Sadiq being an option.
A strong possibility that they will draft a receiver in round 1 for a 3rd consecutive year, as well as potentially a tight end.
Okay. Seems a little rich on wideouts.
It does.
Jalen Coker's a much better player than people realize.
And Ted McMillan's good.
McMillan's great, yeah.
Pittsburgh Steelers at pick, because remember, then the Cowboys at 20, and we've already discussed the Cowboys. So the Steelers at 21 here. Here's what they say. The Steelers might not have a clear-cut quarterback for of the future on the roster, but one internal source said that they won't be forced to draft one this year. They will see how the board plays out, and that Will Howard has fans amongst the organization and in the front office. It seems unlikely the Steelers will use their first-round pick on a quarterback, but don't rule out a selection on day 2 or day 3, even if they get an Aaron Rodgers return before then. New head coach Mike McCarthy and the scouting staff have been doing their homework on several prospects in the draft class. Both Mike McCarthy and Omar Khan have been transparent about their signal caller wish list. You and I talked about this last week, I think it was, or earlier this week. Long arms, big hands, and a knack for thriving in cold playoff weather.
All that is in lockstep of kind of what we thought all along. Yeah.
So that's pretty good, and that I think that kind of drives home reinforces a lot of what we've thought about the Steelers. Let's do this. Let's break here. We'll run through the rest of this this draft intel for the remaining teams as we close down the first hour.
I think that should help people have a better idea of what's going to fall before the Steelers pick, too.
I thought so, too. I thought that was a good kind of just talk it out type exercise.
Yeah, exactly.
And we'll put a bow on that and the first hour when we return. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, it's The Drive, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Rolling through the latest draft intel for all the 32 teams in the league as we are now 2 weeks, just 14 days away from the first round of the draft opening on the North Shore of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. On to pick 22, Matt, the LA Chargers. Sources inside and outside the staff indicate guard is the team's top need, but they also expect the team could use an early pick on an edge rusher. They only have 5 total picks. 22, 55, 86, 123, and 204.
I don't know what guard will be there for them, though.
They say if Penn State guard Olavenga Ioane is there at 22, they would run to the podium to get that draft card in. But I would
he would have to pass the Steelers,
which would surprise several other. He's got to get past Baltimore at 14 first.
Right.
But that to me seems like a real long shot. That seems like a real long shot. But I tell you what, if you plugged him in there with what they have on that offensive line at the bookends and Alt and Slater.
Maybe they're one of the Basantis teams or something like that in round 2, or Dunker or something like that.
From across the Commonwealth, our lesser brethren on the east side of the state, the Philadelphia Eagles. Pick 23, could they use it to really facilitate that post-June 1st trade of A.J. Brown. They could get aggressive in trading up for a wide receiver, and they've got great things to say about Jordan Tyson and could potentially want to move up if he's still available around the 17 range.
Okay. Maybe they want to get ahead of Pittsburgh.
Maybe.
For a wideout. Right.
Maybe.
I think they have a lot of picks.
They have a ton of picks.
Yeah.
23, 54, 68, 98, 114, 137, 153, 178, and 197. Okay. So 9 picks in total there.
I doubt they stick the whole draft.
The Philadelphia Eagles. If not Jordan Tyson, they'd be very intrigued of replenishing the offensive line.
Sure.
With both Lane Johnson and Landon Dickerson pondering
I agree it'll
retirement.
Be an offensive pick.
Yeah, absolutely. The Chicago Bears, Bears, pick 25.
They're
here.
really linked to safeties.
They are really linked to safeties. Would love
I have a tinfoil hat theory, by the way.
Okay, hold on one second here. Really linked to safeties. They would also love it if one of the talented edge rusher defensive linemen that they like is available at 25, hearing that Zion Young out of Missouri is a popular name amongst the organization.
He's not for me, but I can understand why they would like him. From what I understand, McNeil Warren is either scheduled for a visit here or was already here. Maybe he's here as we speak. I don't know.
That's been reported, yes.
I could see the Bears being a team to maybe the Steelers trade with. For Thiemann comes off the board. We'll move up 3 or 4 spots for McNeil Warren. All right,
Interesting. And I'd be willing to move down to 25.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean, again, there's maybe 2 or 3 dudes that I'm just running the podium, but if they're not there, you get a pretty similar player.
Buffalo Bills, pick 26. Does DJ Moore, does that trade mean that they can pass on wide receivers early in the draft? Linebacker and wide receiver, still the 2 positions most heavily linked around Buffalo, even after the acquisition of Moore. They're looking for true separators who could play a multitude of spots in a multitude of formations. They also are very intrigued by this linebacker class. One name to watch is Josiah Trotter out of Missouri.
Okay, so I almost said this with Kansas City, but 3 teams in the AFC that have awesome quarterbacks, Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore, have a ton of needs that have won a lot of games the last couple of years. They could go so many directions.
They totally could.
I mean, you laid out like the 4 premium positions for Kansas City. Baltimore's got a multitude of needs. Buffalo's got a multitude of needs. And I'm not implying it's because they had to pay Mahomes, Jackson, and Allen. I just don't know if the front offices have done that great a job lately. Yeah, they're really good organizations with a lot of wins, but
they've missed on some draft picks over the last couple of years.
Yeah, a little bit of the blooms off the rose or whatever that saying is.
Interesting. Every rose has its thorn?
Yeah.
San Francisco 49ers at pick 27. How much does the Trent Williams situation impact their draft plans? In reading the tea leaves and talking to people around the league, the Niners don't necessarily view offensive line as a round 1 priority.
That's not a Shanahan thing. He schemes around it real well.
Instead, they've been heavily connected to wide receivers.
I think they're going to go wide out.
And they would love to nab KC Concepcion out of Texas A&M.
It's funny. I often talk about Peacock, the Niners dude. We both have major crushes for our favorite team on KC Concepcion.
That's funny. That is true, though. I didn't really think about that, but you're right. The Niners are not a first-round offensive tackle type team.
They just manufacture them, mid-round guys.
Colton McKevitz was a 5th-rounder, or a 3rd or 5th-rounder?
A lot of it's their scheme is so good, they don't put those dudes in compromised situations as much.
It's smart.
Yeah, it's easier said than done, but yeah.
Sure.
It's one of the beauties of Shanahan.
Houston Texans, pick 28, 38, 59, 69, 106. They've got some good capital.
Yeah, they're in pretty good shape. They don't have many needs, though, really. I love where they're
The question is, do they just go heavy on offensive line in this draft? Despite a bit of an offensive line overhaul this season, they are still expected to be aggressive in building up that position group. 2 names that they have circled as possibilities, Maxey Nachor and Keelan Rutledge. Yeah, well, guess what, Houston? You're going to have to fist fight us in the parking lot for those 2, okay?
And the nice thing with them with Max is it's not like their O-line's in a great spot, but they've done an overhaul. They could wait for him to develop a little bit, too.
Absolutely.
Or do the thing I keep talking about the Steelers. Plug him in at guard, and then maybe he's your left tackle or right tackle down there.
We got about 2 minutes here to finish this up. Patriots, they have a essential plan to attack the offensive and defensive lines in this draft. That's not surprising.
Totally get it.
Totally
Especially
get it.
edge. I don't know if they'll go D tackle.
They need edge help, and they need help all across the offensive line. They have the most day 3 picks with 8. Could use those to potentially move up a little bit.
Sneaky one for them is I'd want to definitely bite the tight end apple here too at some point too. Just Hunter Henry's fine, but it's a rich draft for that. Grab one.
Seattle, they only have 4 picks in this draft.
They're in a weird spot for
32,
a Super Bowl champ.
64, 96, and 188. They really want to add a not day one in the draft, but a day one starting caliber for them type running back, and apparently really like Mike Washington out of Arkansas.
Okay. Guards a big need. Their secondary got hit hard. They're always going to try to replenish their edge rushers, and they lost a little bit there too. So Super Bowl champs took one on the chin.
Colts pick 47 is there first. They love the idea of a linebacker there in the second round with this talented and deep class.
I think pass rush too.
Falcons first pick at 48.
They need a lot.
Defensive tackle, they need a lot. They pick 48 and 79. That's all they have in the top 100. Defensive tackle and wide receiver is what they're hearing.
We were talking today, they might have had the worst offseason of any team in the league.
It's been rough.
Yeah.
It's been rough. Packers, 52. They would love to add a cornerback, really like Chris Johnson out of San Diego State.
Mm-hmm.
Jacksonville Jaguars, pick 56 is there first. Let's see here. They're going to be looking for players who can play right away, defensive tackle and tight end.
Okay. They could go a lot of directions.
Yeah, absolutely. But that makes sense, actually. I'll tell you what, they could have some nice tight end options there at pick 56.
Mm-hmm. I think Brenton Strange is good enough, though. You talking about the Jags for tight ends? Yeah, I think wouldn't go tight end.
Not to make this all about me, but Brenton Strange, another one of those West Virginia kids that Dana Holgerson had no interest in recruiting.
He's pretty good.
Denver Broncos, 1 pick in the top 100, 62nd overall. That's it. They have just 1 pick before day 3. And certainly defensive tackle, tight end, offensive line mentioned as the possibilities. They could take a project tackle at 62 with Garrett Bowles being 34 and Mike McGlinchey being 31.
Wow. I didn't realize Bowles was that old.
Me either.
He came out of college old.
First hour in the books. That was a fun exercise to kind of continue to just set the scene for what's ahead here in the coming weeks. In hour number 2, I've got some would you rather draft scenarios for Matt Williamson. We've also got a million, zillion, gajillion tweets that we're going to do a double Twitter, X-Twitter, YouTube comment segment to
bring it on home.
Bring it on home and get through some of the backlog of the great participation we've continued to get. We'll do all that and more in hour 2. Uhler, Williamson, it's The Drive, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Good evening, Steeler Nation. How we doing? Well, that's good. Us too. Hour number 2 of The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Of course, Steelers Nation Radio. As we roll along in anticipation of what's going to be a crazy couple of days here in 2 weeks for the Steelers, for Pittsburgh, and obviously as well, too, for the entire NFL, the entire football world. It is, Matt, after the Super Bowl, I think the number 2 thing, the biggest event of the NFL year.
I think so too. I mean, event, like gathering and yeah.
It's incredible. It's a 3-day event now, and it's happening right here. And there's a lot of excitement around it. So with that, we're going to get into a lot of tweets and a lot of audience participation, questions, or YouTube and things like that. But first, I had a couple of would you rathers for you.
All right, great.
One draft related. One Steelers related, and then just kind of another goofy one that you knew I had to throw in there, as I like to do this time of year for fun. The first, Matt.
Ooh, I have one for you.
Yeah.
I mean to ask. So, the guard from Penn State, Vega, Ione, whatever, however we're going to call it. I need to get that down because I'm falling in love with him, and I've already kind of been in love with him. Steelers pick at 21. Would you give up one of those thirds today with number 21 to ensure that he was a Pittsburgh Steeler? If you told me that was what you had to pay for a trade up, one of those third, we'll say the middle one, just to make it easy.
Okay.
There's a huge difference in value.
So pick 85.
85-21 for Vega today.
To move up a few spots and know you get them.
You don't say maybe I'll think about it. Yes or no. 85-21 right this minute.
My first initial reaction is yeah.
Me too.
But the only thing that holds me back from being a hell yeah is I'm very intrigued by the guys that could be guard for a year and then potentially bump out the tackle. That's the only thing that gives me pause.
Me too. I think I'd take the bird in the hand, though, and just plug him in.
I think I might, too.
I think he's that good.
That's the thing, is, I mean, you could have 3 elite pieces on that offensive line, and Venga, Frazier, and Faltanu, and a really stinking good one in McCormick.
Yeah.
And, left tackle would still be a question, and you'd have to Cook and Broderick Jones and all that.
But it might be fine, and you could still take a third. You could take Marcus Bell or something in the third round or whatever, too, or,
If you asked me that question about Fanu or Maui Goa, I would definitely say yes.
Yeah.
But I think that's cheating a little bit.
Everyone knows I love Max, but no.
Not for Max.
No, right.
Yeah.
Right. I might take him at 21.
Yes.
And the fun part about the exercise, too, is, boy, I'd really like to see what's there. It might not, but that's why I think, if I was purely doing a big board, not a Steelers big board, he might be like the 6th or 7th best player in the draft.
Yeah.
And I think he is the best offensive lineman in the draft. So just give me a good player,
And so much of it, too, if you're doing these type of bird in the hand exercises, it's just give me something that I know is going to hit.
Right.
You're mitigating so much risk of the board could fall this way, and what about this player? Because maybe Venga isn't a superstar all-pro for a decade, but I would be shocked.
But he might be.
He might be. He certainly might be, and I would be shocked if he was not a good NFL player.
Right. Like a second contract player.
Yes.
Yes. And that's enough, right.
Isaac Sayamalu. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, but he might be DeCastro,
Very well could be. Very well could be. I like that one. That's a good one. All right, let me piggyback off of that. Here's my first one for you. I'm going to present you 2 different scenarios. You have to tell me which you would rather. I'm going to lay out 2 blue pill, red pill,
Yeah.
Let's say black pill, gold pill.
Nice.
The first one is you walk away from the first 2 picks of the draft, 21 and 53, with Casey Concepcion and Keelan Rutledge, the guard out of Georgia Tech that we talked about yesterday.
I would approve of that.
Or you get Mad Max Ian Chor at pick 21, and you get Jeremy Bernard at pick 53.
Ooh.
Which would you rather, Casey and Rutledge, Casey and the Sunshine Band, or Mad Max and Jeremy?
See, you did this on purpose because you picked guys I like.
I sure did.
You didn't just pick the guys like, I'm not real big on that.
Listen, I wasn't trying to make this easy on you,
right.
Okay?
Those are some of my faves.
The first-round wide receiver with the second-round guard, or the first-round?
I'm a big Bernard fan. Concepcion's maybe 2 tiers ahead of him, though, especially in terms of explosiveness and being different than what they have and ball in his hands. And I wouldn't put a ton of stock in it, but the fact that you kill your punt returner need too is great. It's just
it helps.
One more thing,
definitely helps.
Right. I mean, that's enough. One more thing I don't have to worry about.
Who do you like more, Keelan Rutledge or Jeremy Bernard? I know they play different positions, but for their position, that's what I think it really comes down to, is which of the second-round picks do you like more?
Rutledge.
That's why
he's a wild man. I mean, just to tease something we'll probably talk about tomorrow, Brandon Thorne put out his guys, and
he's one of the best offensive line minds.
He's my favorite, yeah. So I watched a clip that Brandon put together this morning of 30 Rutledge blocks. So he's kind of on the top of my mind, and it's also a really fun watch.
And it's 30 blocks. It's not 3 or 4 or 5.
Right.
It's
and
30.
You can't just watch highlight tapes.
Yeah, of course.
But, I mean, still, you understand what's fun about him.
He's a killer.
However, now, I'm not even going to go down this road, but it's one thing we have not mentioned about Rutledge was, I think it was 2 off seasons ago, he got in a very bad car accident where something ran across the road. He had to swerve his car. Flipped his car. Did massive amount of damage, or a lot of damage. Again, I hate talking injuries, to one of his big toes.
Okay.
Where they almost had to amputate it.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's here for a visit. You know they're double-checking that toe. And maybe even had other injuries.
Triple-checking that toe, yeah.
He has multiple coaches that he's worked for that says, that's the toughest dude on the planet. If he didn't have a toe, Rocky Blyer style, he'd be out there. I mean, doesn't bother that guy.
Sure.
But it's important.
It's important.
And the tape doesn't look like it's an issue, but that's one thing about him that I find interesting is there's something that just can't get red flagged from him. But I'm going to assume it's fine. He played great this year. I think I take Rutledge. And people probably are like, he's a take backs for sure. He mocks him every time. It's hard for me to turn my back on him, but
Casey and Rutledge. That's a nice combination.
I think, and I like Bernard, but he's my fourth favorite of the group.
Yes.
Yes.
So Max is 2 and 4, and Casey maybe. Yeah. Okay, I got you. Yeah, 2 and 4, 1 and 3. Interesting. Maybe I should have.
But that's a coin flip. I'd be very happy with both.
I thought you would like those.
The beauty of the Max one though is I might have a tackle.
That's
the fact that conversation we just had, right?
Which again, I
don't know if I'll need him or not, but
in the entire grand scheme of things, my biggest concern is that we're sitting here 10, 11, 12 months from now.
I know.
And the Steelers need a left tackle and a quarterback. That's not where I want to be.
I think so many people on Twitter and people don't understand how hard that would be to overcome. And I so often mock a tackle in the first round, and that's all people see. It's like, no, he's a guard, but I can't be in the need for a left tackle and a quarterback 1 year from now to come from the draft because it's not going to happen.
That is the worst case scenario for this time next year.
Best case scenario is Broderick Jones is healthy and looks like a Pro Bowl.
Totally. Or Dylan Cook or one of those guys
and
says that
not
job's
off the
mine.
table.
It's not off the table, certainly, but these are all in the – it's like the same thing of the Will Howard conversation. Just because we talk about other options doesn't mean that Will Howard is off the table. You just have to be realistic with these things.
Doesn't mean he stinks, right.
It's all part of the big –
backup plan,
it's all part of the big picture. Question number 2 of 3 for you, Matt Williamson. If you could only choose one for this upcoming 2026 Steelers season, would you rather see the rebirth of Caleb Johnson or Roman Wilson? If I could tell you one of those guys not turns into a Pro Bowler, but solidifies themselves as a quality NFL starter, Caleb Johnson or Roman Wilson?
Would this be fair parameters that are worth their draft pick?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's probably a better way to put it.
Okay. I mean, like, you're happy you took them now.
You'd like to keep them for a second contract, or
despite 3 rough seasons between them thus far. They're both positions that are pretty easy to fill elsewhere. Frankly,
it's not offensive tackle.
Right. Frankly, if they both bust out, it doesn't hurt you that bad because you can always find receivers and running backs. What bothers you is you could have used the pick on something else.
Sure.
Of course.
Sure.
But no one's going to hit on every pick. I guess Wilson. No, I'm going with Johnson.
Yeah.
Smaller receivers are sort of getting phased out, and I think he's slot only. I think that's one of the more underreported things that have kept him off the field is even his Michigan tape, which is quite good. A lot of his catches at Michigan are him coming in motion and then breaking it off up the middle, or it's not just lining up and beating a guy. So Johnson being 220, 225 would be a nice situation to have. Somebody that can close out games for you.
I lean towards Caleb Johnson because Rico Dowdle's here for 1 year.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, right? It was a 1 year contract, right?
I think so, yeah.
I'm not misremembering that.
I think you're right.
If Caleb Johnson proves himself, busts onto the scene this year, great. You've got a great group of options in that running back room. And then maybe in 2027, it's the vision of Caleb Johnson carrying the load while Jaylen Warren does Jaylen Warren things that we kind of thought a year ago.
And he might be declining by then. Running backs don't last.
So that, I think, is the answer. The only thing with Roman Wilson that makes me not just completely 100% say Caleb Johnson is I think you'd be much more inclined to give a wide receiver a second contract than a running back just because like Roman Wilson could play till he was in his early 30s, whereas with a running back, the shelf life is typically, not always, but typically shorter.
Yeah, it could be 2030 and we're doing a show and Wilson's on the team and Johnson isn't. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And then my last one for you, Matt Williamson. You know, I had to throw a sports-related but random one in for you. Timely. You know what starts today in the sports world? Big deal for a lot of people.
No.
First round of the Masters.
Oh, yeah. I did know that.
Down in Augusta, Georgia.
That's awesome. Right.
So I just asked you a simple question, Matt Williamson. Would you rather win the Masters or would you rather win Wimbledon?
Oh, the Masters.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's more prestigious. I mean, Wimbledon's, I don't know. Two of my best friends were really good tennis players, so I make fun of them a lot. Like, I'd much rather be good at golf now as a 50 or than tennis.
Well, sure,
because you can play forever.
Absolutely,
but that's not
but,
nothing.
You can play pickleball now too, though.
I know. And one of my buddies these guys play paddle. And
I do agree with you that maybe it's not a completely great question because I think the Masters is more prestigious.
Yeah,
prestigious.
I mean, of all the titles you could win in any sport, I bet the Masters is higher on my list than you would guess.
Individual.
Yeah.
It's probably pretty high.
It's got to be pretty high.
All right. Would you rather win the Masters or would you rather win whatever the Formula equivalent is of?
There isn't one.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the
Monaco.
Yeah. I mean, that's cool, but it's one of 20-some races, and
it's like
they all weigh the
Daytona
same.
500 is cool, but there's still a bunch that count just as much. And
like the F1, there is a champion at the end of the year, but that's like the Super Bowl.
Right.
The Masters isn't like win the Super Bowl. That
Right.
doesn't mean you're the best golfer of the year.
Sure.
It's one awesome event.
Sure.
The other thing about the Masters, well, I guess this is true
you get your
for
green
Wimbledon
jacket
too.
And you're there forever.
But it's also 3 days or 4 days too.
4 days.
Like you got to start really putting in the work now.
Thursday,
But
Friday,
I guess
Saturday,
that's true
Sunday.
for Wimbledon. You don't start in the finals.
Right. I think mine would be the Masters, but man, the Wimbledon would be pretty sweet too. It would be pretty cool. But yeah, excited.
It's more American too.
It's a good point.
I mean, one of them's here, one of them's there.
It's a good point. Although you get to be the American that goes to a foreign country and wins and hold up the flag and taunt everybody.
I hear you.
Which is always fun too. But I would go with the Masters, especially on a beautiful day like today. That's tough to argue.
You know this tidbit about the Masters? Probably you do, but like if you get a sandwich there or a hot dog or whatever,
like $2.
It's like super cheap, and there's like with pimento cheese or someone that they have.
That's the tradition, yeah.
But they come in green wrappers that are the exact same color of the grass. In case they fall, you can't see them. It doesn't look like litter on TV.
That's fantastic.
Isn't that awesome?
That's fantastic. I mean, it's kind of sad that like that's how much we litter as a population.
Well, I think they cleaned it up in like 0.2 seconds, like Disneyland.
I'm sure.
But there's no way there's gonna be some yellow ugly wrapper on any blade of grass.
I think the no cell phones thing is awesome too.
That is pretty cool.
I wish every concert and sporting event was no cell phones. Like you get one of those things that you put it in and it locks, and as soon as it's over, or as soon as you get off the property, it unlocks. Like, you know how awesome it is going to an event and not having 700 people in front of you holding up their phone to take the same video. Like,
but it's just if someone in your family gets in an accident or something. Like, I want to know.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I'm gonna bring it. Like,
I mean, you got to go to the most extreme situation here.
Right. I don't mean to totally buzzkill the Masters or your Metallica concert or whatever. But
you can bring in a flip phone. That's it.
Okay.
Let's get to some tweets. Let's get to some YouTube questions. Let's turn this thing over to you good people for our final 2 segments of the day when we return. Hour number 2 of The Drive. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It's Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Rolling along here, and it's time to turn it over to the people. We get about 700 ex-Twitter questions, a bunch of YouTube comments as well. So let's run the gambit here, Mr. Williamson.
I love it. They've been good questions.
They have been. Ian tweets and says, "Happy Thursday, gents. Recently, the Steelers brought in late day 1, early day 2 wide receiver prospects, seemingly for visits, guys like Skylar Bell and Denzel Boston. Do you think this is any indication of where their draft plans ultimately lie? Although, as I post this, I see Mekhi Lemon is also supposed to be in town. Also, I'm 31 tomorrow. Way to go, me. Hey, happy early birthday, Ian. Welcome to the... I guess he's
congratulations on being born.
I'm 35. He's 31. I'm mid 30s now. He's early 30s. So congratulations on being younger than me, Ian.
Your mom did all the work, though, Ian.
That's real quick. It's always funny. Like sometimes when our daughters do something really cute, and my wife's having like a moment, she'll be like, "Look what we made," and I'm like, "Yeah, but you did all the work. Like you deserve way more credit than I do."
Exactly.
I didn't have that child in my belly for 9 months.
Right. That's one of the things I have with my kids. We're like, well, they'll complain about stuff, or hey, can I get a couple bucks? I'm like, no, I'll knock out the electricity bill this month though. Don't forget about that. You'll have heat. You'll have hot water. You'll have the internet.
I'll pay the Netflix
right.
subscription for you.
You think these things just grow on trees, but yeah, the electricity. Thanks, Dad. Thanks, Mom. Anyway.
Now go cut the grass and leave me alone.
Right. I want to hear it. Yeah, and you can eat your burger that I just bought you. You'll be fine. I think they're probably covering all bases. I mean, like Boston in particular to me, maybe Bell, depending on injuries. Bell, I think you want to check him out injury-wise.
Totally.
And I think he's a big personality. I think you want to spend the day with that guy either way. Makes me think that there's, at least it's on their mind of trade down in round 1 and or trade up in round 2. Just like, it wouldn't shock me if one of those things happen. It'd shock me if both happen, but if one of those things happen and they end up making a pick between 26 and 40, because it's not much different.
That would be a scenario I'd be very intrigued by.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be very intrigued by.
Again, like let's say you take, to me, I love doing both. If you can move down to like 25, 26.
And then move up to.
Get Max, and then move up to 40 and get Boston.
Perfect.
That's not bad.
Wouldn't
cost. It might cost you what you got to move back to move up.
It might all be a wash. It might all be a wash in the end.
Might all just like the same, right? Easier said than done. You need dance partners. But
certainly.
Yeah.
Jeff asks, what cons do you guys remember from Mike McCarthy's days with the Cowboys that you don't want to see with the Steelers? I feel like I remember some discussion of clock management issues, but I also think you could say that about a lot of NFL head coaches. What changes do you want to see him make to the offense?
That's what came to mind. You can say it especially about a lot of offensive play calling head coaches. Because Andy Reid was notorious.
They're so involved in the next play, the next call.
It's just too much.
Stringing together the play calls.
You're sitting there with your big menu, and it's like, should I call timeout or not? And like, I got to get this play in, and the clock's running, and it's loud, and it's raining on my head, and my
is this
left
2nd and 4 or 2nd and 5? I'm trying to figure out exactly what we're looking at here.
And is this running back hurt or not? And the play clock's going, and I can't hit
70,000 people are screaming and yelling.
Can't hit pause and go get a beer. This isn't Madden. But to his credit, and I think the Steelers have adopted this too, he has a game management guy late in his career at Dallas, and I'm almost certain that the Steelers have adopted that as well, which apparently he has embraced to no end and recognized a weakness. So good. This will be something I'll be interested in, and I don't claim to be an X's and O's guru. I am not an offensive coordinator. But his system has been very successful, but it could be a little outdated. I mean, it's a lot of Walsh principles and things like that, too. I mean, it's been very successful every stint. He was not a coach in the league last year, and the league moves very fast. I think it's still an upgrade. Not that Arthur Smith's system was bad. It really wasn't. The one Canada's was.
Blame Canada.
I hate the term, the game passed you by. Chuck Noll at the end, the game passed him by. He didn't know anything. He knows more than all of us combined. You know what I mean?
Right.
But you do have to keep up with the fads and
totally.
what defenses are doing and how they attack your style, because they've seen your offense before, in a big way.
Yes.
They know more about you than you know about them, I guess.
Good
That's the way I put it.
Very good way to put it. Let's see. John on YouTube says, I don't know if you guys will ever take questions from YouTube, but, well, guess what, John?
How about that,
It's
John?
your lucky day, partner. I'd be curious, both of your thoughts about the potential to replace Connor Hayward. What would you look for? Is that a need? A true running back type fullback, another who's more a tight end like Hayward. Is it something that you feel is a need? He says, I like Max Bredson from Michigan or Jack Veelings from Michigan State.
I assume they're fullback types. I don't know either one of them.
I would believe so. Yeah,
I have not done any fullback scouting.
We need Mike Pursuta in there to give us specifics on those guys. But yeah, what do you think about the future of the fullback position? What is, all the things that Connor Hayward used to do? How does that translate to this new Mike McCarthy era? Does it translate to the new Mike McCarthy
I think it's
era?
a really good question, and it's one that I hadn't thought of until recently, honestly. One thing I think is clear is the third tight end won't look like Connor Hayward. I mean, he's going to be 6'4 plus with long arms. He's going to look like a tight end. So I think that will happen in the Saturday, 2 weeks from now. They will add a tight end that looks like a tight end in a tight end-rich draft. But if you look at McCarthy's Dallas and Green Bay rosters, there's usually pretty much a true fullback on there. Now, more of a West Coast type fullback. I mean, not just a pure hammer, Lorenzo Neal, Dan Kreider, only does one thing
Chris
guy.
Fumata Malafala.
But I don't know if he'll adopt that or not. I mean, you can always have a 7th-round pick and an undrafted free agent and let them battle it out.
Sure.
And whoever's better on special teams gets the job. So, to be determined, but it's on my radar.
Dorkman asks us, who could be available at pick 53 that you would make that pick instead of trading for a 2027 first-round pick? Or is there a scenario in which you wouldn't trade this year's 53rd pick for next year's first round?
I mean, not of realistic people.
I don't think there's any scenario where I wouldn't trade Steelers pick 53 for next year's first-round pick.
Right.
You can tell me that.
I mean, would you do it with the Rams or Seattle? I'm thinking with, the best teams in the league where it's probably a late first.
Even if all those because, Max isn't still going to be on the board.
I would say, we're not going to be like, well, if Sonny Styles is on the board at 53, I'm not going to do it.
But there certainly could be some wide receivers that we like at 53.
Oh, that you're super psyched about. I'm like, I can't believe he's there. I'm still going to run to the podium and take him.
And we're starting to think the chance is less and less, but there could be one of those guards there the Pregnon, Bastantis, Rutledge kind of Jennings Dunker territory.
But as good as I like all those dudes you mentioned, the 32nd pick in the draft next year is more valuable.
I don't see any realistic scenario where I wouldn't right now trade the Steelers' 53rd pick for anybody's first-round pick next year.
And frankly,
because even if it's pick 32, you went up 21 picks.
Yeah. If
you waited a year to go up 21 spots.
You know how fantasy leagues work. I'm sure the NFL does not work this way. But if Omar sent an email out to 31 teams and said, if any one of you want to give, first one of you to say your first-round pick next year for 53, it's yours. And whoever says yes first gets it. I think you'd be thrilled.
Yeah.
I don't even know who's there. I'm not even going to wait.
That's just basic. That feels like business 101.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If it's the Colts or Falcons or a team that doesn't have one this year, the Jags, and they want first-round pick or second-round. Oh, no, I'm thinking, never mind. You'll be sharing your second. I'm definitely doing it.
Yeah.
Because it's a late second, too.
It's just smart business.
It's not, I might do it for 33, let alone 53.
It's just smart business, man.
I don't know if 33 is worth more than 32 next year.
Sure.
If it was the Rams or somebody like that,
Sure.
But that's not the conversation.
One of our loyals, Michael Adesso, says, okay, Yins, we got 2 weeks till the draft, and you have yet to discuss day 3 guys or do a full 7-round mock. We have 7 day 3 picks. Let's have some fun.
Let's have some fun.
Tomorrow.
All right.
We will do our first of a few full 7-round mock tomorrow in honor of our brother Dale Lawley, who used to love to do them pretty much every day this time.
Yeah, we did. Full disclosure, and it's just I'm a scouting staff of one. I will not know all the 7th rounders. I will not know all the 6th rounders. I won't either.
I'll be the first one to put my hand up.
So, and that's just the way it has to go in my life nowadays. That being said, we might just be like, let's take the best running back on the board here.
Totally.
And trust the site that we're doing. The other problem is it's really, really hard to trade up or trade one of your 6th rounders for next year's 5th or something like that. But we'll make every pick, and it'll be an abundance of players. You might take 3 O-linemen or 3 wide receivers because you get to the 6th round, it's like, what else are we going to pick? Are we going to take 2 tight ends?
No.
Right. You take 3 quarterbacks? No. Right.
Chris G asks, what are your thoughts on Skylar Bell? I really like him maybe as a 2nd-round wide receiver option.
Yeah, I do too.
So, you think he would fall to the 3rd or no?
No. No, but he might not be my favorite option sitting there in round 2, but he would be worth the round 2 pick. Really good route runner. Little on the smaller side, more slot, but not slot only. He's grown on me through the process a lot. I think his game translates to the NFL quite well.
Yeah.
Productive, gets out of his breaks really, really well. We haven't talked about him enough, but I think he's a good prospect. Now, if I got him in like round 2, I'd love to get like Lance in round 3, who's like raw but more of a downfield.
I'm going to do the thing that we always laugh about. Ted Hurst. I was going to say the Georgia State guy.
I was going to bring him up. I don't think he's a wrestler.
You don't know if he's going to last that long?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Because that might be a scenario that I would sign up for right now. Like a Skylar Bell and a Ted Hurst.
Yeah, with a big-time O-lineman in the first round or something like that. Yeah, I think he'd be sitting in nice shape.
Let's do one or two more here before we get to break. Grouchy says his ideal scenario that he would love is grab a wide receiver. He wants Concepcion at pick 21.
Cool.
And then move up a few spots to grab a guard like Rutledge around pick 45-ish. Reasonable?
We've talked about that a lot. But
I think that's very reasonable.
I think it's very reasonable.
Totally. And that's a scenario that not quite yet, but by the time we get to next Wednesday, Thursday, I might sign up for.
Yeah. And I think that's a very logical – I think there's a chance that happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
RJ asked, this is a funny one to send us to our final break. And it's hilarious. I feel like we get a question like this quarterly, 3 times a year. If you guys couldn't live in Pittsburgh anymore, where would your ideal place be to live next? Somewhere with better weather. Yeah. I love everything about Pittsburgh. The only thing I would change is, Matt, if we could have an Arizona-type climate, oh, brother, I would sign up for that in about 5 seconds. And I grew up loving winter. I played pond hockey till my legs fell off. I do love the 4 seasons, but the older and older I get, I could do with more and more warm weather.
I haven't traveled as much as my 53 years should have taken me places. California sounds
unbelievable.
Like I got a buddy who lives in San Diego. That's
unbelievable. If money was no object, if money was no object to me, I think I would want to live at least part of the year in Southern California. That whole Arizona, New Mexico, that whole Southwest corridor, the weather is just amazing. And there's beaches everywhere.
I know, but you say like Arizona, New Mexico, and I do think about like July.
Well, sure. But August, you know what, though? I'd rather deal with that than the winter that we just had where it was 6 degrees
it's not better
every
or worse
day.
than here.
Yeah.
I'm just saying if I only get one choice ever, I'd probably go SoCal.
Yeah.
That's
a good call.
Yeah.
The Carolinas would be very tempting to me, too, because you still get the 4 seasons, but it's better weather than here.
Yeah, but humid.
It is.
I only get one pick.
That's stinking humidity.
Right.
It's a good question, though. We only get one pick. This is like the draft. Quick, you're on the clock. Make your decision. All right, I'll go with Southern California. Matt and I are going to take our final break. We will continue with more of the YouTube comments, the Twitter questions, comments, concerns, reactions, X, Twitter, YouTube, wherever. I guess those are the only places. All right, don't send us don't send us Facebook messages because we'll never see.
Don't send a letter to my house.
Well, if you want to, Matt lives at 123 Main Street, Upper St. Clair, Pennsylvania.
Right. Don't send us smoke signals hoping we'll see them. Right.
Final segment on the other side. It's The Drive, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Final segment on this Thursday of The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio, Steelers Audio Network. Let's close this thing down with more of your questions, comments, concerns, reactions. 2 ways to get them in. You can leave comments on our YouTube page every day, of course, on the Steelers YouTube account. Matt and I are our video cast, I guess, as they call them, right? The podcasts and shows in video form, video casts. Of course, all produced and put together by the great Tyler V. You can comment there your questions, or of course, you can always get at Matt and I on the X Twitter, Williamson NFL, and at Wesley Uhler is where we can be found. Tyler asks, curious on your guys' thoughts on the corners in this class. I like the 2 big corners from Washington. I think they could be interesting options on maybe day 3, and they've both reportedly been here on a visit.
Yeah, they have. They're both unusually tall, speed, length, raw, but that would be a nice, like when we do a 7-round mock, it might be like, we don't really need a corner, but one of these dudes sitting there with your last pick of the 3rd round or one of those 4th rounders would be like, you can kind of marinate for a year here and learn and see what you got. I don't mind taking a swing on one.
I don't either.
I've heard a lot of mixed people saying, well, what if Delane or McCoy's there at 21? Chris Johnson's been in for a visit. He's a nice player. Can never have too many. You could get out of Dean's contract after 1 year if it doesn't work out or if injuries happen. I see all that. I'm more of a mid-round corner upside guy, though, I think, for this year.
I'm with you on that. You and I kind of had some of this conversation when we did our top 21s for the Steelers yesterday.
I didn't know where to put those two.
I realized, and I thought about this, and TV was texting us because he was putting together graphics, and he was like, just double-checking, these are your lists and everything, right? And so I was thinking about it more and more. I think yesterday when I did that, and I'm a little guilty of this, I'm looking bigger picture, longer term.
Yeah.
And I realize that is I'm right now I'm doing the like do as I say, not as I do thing because I'm the one who tells everybody all the time. Remember, think as those around you think.
Yeah.
Matt, I might get ostracized from the organization. This might be my last show ever for saying this, but like I don't think the Steelers are going to win the Super Bowl this year, and I don't think the Steelers are going to win the Super Bowl next year. So that would mean 28 is when I think the window could really potentially open if you've got your future quarterback. The Steelers could be very
McCoy and Porter in 28. It's like,
the Steelers could be very good this year.
They
could win the division and go back to the playoffs and win playoff game or games. That wouldn't shock me. But I mean,
we'd say this about 25 teams. I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl this year or next year.
I don't think that's, and I know that's not how they operate, and that's not how I want them to operate. But
no.
I'm the one hosting the radio show for a few hours, for 30 segments a week, like we always talk about. And so maybe I'm guilty of like, I want the Super Bowl window to be wide open in 2028, and
be a powerhouse,
and
maybe win a bunch of them
to start it this year, to find the final pieces next year, and then to really take off in 2028. And so maybe that's when I have Mansour Delane 9th on my, maybe that's why. It's because I'm looking bigger picture, but I do think there's a lot of cornerbacks in this class, early and day 3, to be intrigued by.
There is a theory out there. With what you just said in mind, don't be real position specific this year and just draft BPA all the way down and just get a bunch of good players and see where the chips land in a year or two. And you might be like, because I'll be honest, like I think the Steelers have drafted really well under Omar Khan, and I very much understand what he inherited and why he's drafted the way he has, especially with linemen.
Sure.
I mean, it needed a lot of work. And never, ever forget that he's very salary cap conscious, and that's, he's going to shop in the right aisles on draft day. And I think they've drafted very well. But they haven't drafted superstars. Now, they don't grow on trees, but Cam Hayward came at the end of the first round. TJ Watt came at the end of the first round.
Lev Bell, second round.
Right. I mean, like...
AB, but that's obviously the ultimate outlier, but still...
Like, Frazier is a top 5 center, but he's not TJ Watt.
Sure.
He's not the defensive player of the year.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, those type of dudes. Like, I think they've drafted real good players. I think they've had real good draft classes, and I very much understand the formula. But I wouldn't mind falling into a third-round Pro Bowler. You know what I mean? They're all pro. Yeah.
That would be fantastic.
That would be right.
That would be fantastic.
That'd be like the nice cherry on top of the whole situation,
All right, I got to read this one from Tim. But before I do, let me preface this. RJ asked us about where we would live if it wasn't Pittsburgh. We get that question a couple times a year. The question I'm about to read from Tim, it feels like we get bi-weekly at this point. I also, you remember, I forget who it was, but somebody, one of the Twitter questions that we took yesterday said to us, like, I love you guys. Please don't take this the wrong way, but stop talking about trading out of the first round. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Tim, I love you, dude. Don't take this the wrong way. Here's the tweet. Listening from Kansas, what have you seen from Will Howard to say he isn't an option at quarterback? The last time we saw him, he was leading his team to a national championship. Yet without any other game tape, you guys are down on him. Tim, I think you hit it with that last sentence, cousin. We have not seen Will Howard play a football game since January of 2024.
Yeah. I thought you were saying, I don't think we are down on him.
And we're not down on him.
Sentence,
it's part of the whole realistic picture that we talked about earlier in this hour.
Yeah.
Neither Matt and I are saying that Will Howard can't play football and he sucks and he doesn't belong on the team.
Or Dylan Cook might not be a good left tackle.
But if you're crowning him too and you're saying, well, he led his team to a national championship 15 months ago, that means he must be great.
That's not
the real answer is somewhere in the middle.
Apples. Right.
Matt and I are reserved on Will Howard. It's fair to say that we have not bought into some of the hype that has come out since Mike McCarthy, rightfully so, as he should as his head coach, talked him up in his opening press conference and has done it a few times since, and the organization loves him and all that messaging that we hear. That's good.
I believe the organization's excited about him. Yes.
As they should be, and that's what they should be saying.
And I don't think they're blowing smoke. I think they're excited about it.
We have not seen him take a meaningful, and I'll even include preseason.
I've never seen him take an NFL snap.
We've never seen him take a snap in a Steelers uniform.
It'd be different if he was a first overall pick or a first round pick.
Or if he looked good in the preseason last year and then we didn't see him at all.
Yeah,
but
what I was going to say is, like, if you loved him on his draft day to take him in the first round, 20th pick last year, and didn't pass on any rounds for him, didn't draft any players ahead of him, and he still's never taken a snap, well, then my opinion hasn't changed. My opinion's actually changed in his favor. Like, when he got drafted, or if 1 year ago I bet there's stuff with me saying, I think Howard's a fourth-round pick. They got him to 6th. But I still think he's a fourth-round pick. He's, maybe if anything, I look at him and be like, he's the equivalent of a second or third-round pick now. Like, I wouldn't trade him for Nussmeier, who I think is a third-round pick, because of all the buzz I'm hearing and because I am close to the organization. But I don't think he's a first-round pick all of a sudden or the answer all of a sudden. But I'm glad he's around. And I want him to get every snap he possibly can get.
And I want to see him in camp again, but I want to see him in preseason, absolutely.
To think that you had it solved is bad business.
We are, Matt, I don't know if it's right to say that we're down on him. We certainly don't hate him or think he stinks, anything like that. But we're taking
my grade on him keeps going up.
We're taking a cautious approach.
You're nuts not to.
If he goes out there in training camp and preseason and looks like he could be a future QB1, and maybe you don't have to draft one in the first round next year, awesome.
That's the best thing ever.
We'll be doing jumping jacks. We'll be so excited.
And I'm sure some jagoffs on Twitter will be like, told you, Williamson, you do think he stinks, blah, blah. No.
And this is
you can't just put all your eggs in that basket.
Like, this is not a shot at Tim. He's just the one who.
No. And I like the way he phrased it.
Every other week, someone tweets us and is like, Will Howard led his team to a national championship. Yes, that was also 15 months ago, and that's the last time we've seen him play meaningful football.
Right. And there's been a lot of national championship winning quarterbacks that aren't good pros. Most. Most. I'm not saying Mendoza isn't, but most.
J.J. McCarthy?
There's tons of them. Right.
Yes. I hope you can all come in here in 2028, like I talked about, and the Steelers are in a wide open Super Bowl window with Will Howard, and we will let you all line up, and you could crack egg on Matt and I's head like we're in a fraternity and we're hazing each other. Like it's like
and it doesn't mean
we're
wrong now. It doesn't mean we're wrong now.
But I have not seen Will Howard play meaningful football in 15 months. I'm going to be cautious. I'm going to be reserved. I'm going to wait and see. That's all.
I can't wait to see him in minicamp and OTAs.
Heck yeah.
And I'm still not going to be like, oh, man, I saw him throw against air. They got a guy. But I think they are excited about him, and that's great.
That's awesome.
That's great.
That's awesome. And again, I don't want anyone to think that Matt and I think that when we talk about drafting your first-round quarterback next year, that means that we think Will Howard sucks and doesn't belong on a football field. That's not the case. No. That's just how
there's a lot of people in the organization.
Yeah, it's how you have to have these conversations when you're doing the big picture talk.
When you signed Jaylen Warren as an undrafted free agent, you didn't think, oh, I got running back solved for the next 3 years. Of course you didn't. And it worked out. And sometimes those stories happen.
And we would love it if that was the case with Will Howard, certainly. Joby.
That's the best case scenario.
That is
if I could wish for anything to happen on the field this year.
Will Howard turns into a top 12 quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah. We leave the year going, we don't have to go anywhere for him.
Joby tweets us and says, cheers, guys. It always feels like there's an early consensus on draft prospects as soon as the college football season ends. Then months of over-analysis and all kinds of movement on people's big boards. I wonder how often teams tend to outsmart themselves and make bad picks they could have avoided. I definitely think that's part of it.
I definitely think it's part of it.
Now,
I think also media drives a lot of this guy's hot.
The combine and the pro days and the interviews and that stuff matter.
Yes.
But I do think the way that you felt about somebody from his final collegiate season should outweigh how fast he runs a 40-yard dash in underwear, you know, in the middle of February,
and I think
that he's been training for a few weeks.
Still apply.
Yes, I think so.
But
I do.
The way that it's set up, you can get a little screwed up with what have you done for me lately.
Joby also asked, what's your favorite sports movie or series? That's always a tough question.
Friday Night Lights was a really good series.
Friday Night Lights was great. So was Playmakers, the ESPN series.
I didn't watch it. I heard it was good.
Big fan of Remember the Titans.
I think this is, you and Pursuit will fight me. I think sports movies are overrated.
In general, I would agree with you.
Part of me is because I do it for a living, and like I watch people play football, and
sure,
like
but like I really like
a bunch of actors out there.
I think Bull Durham's a great movie.
Great movie.
I think Miracle's a great movie.
But Bull Durham would be great if it wasn't even about baseball.
Good point.
You know what I mean? Like,
good point. And you know what? That's
Bull Durham's really high on the list.
It's a good point. It's a good point. White Men Can't Jump, I think, is probably my favorite sports movie, but I don't know if that counts because it's not really about basketball. It might be
Bull Durham for me.
Bull Durham is great.
Yeah.
Great.
But it's not even because the baseball's so great in it.
No.
Yeah, I mean,
no. It's the storytelling part that gets you. Annie tweets us and says, taking a scarce, expensive position high in the draft is always the smart move. Offensive line is football infrastructure. A pretty backsplash doesn't matter if your house's foundation is crumbling.
Somebody taught you right, Annie.
Well said, Annie. Well said.
I can't reiterate that more, and it's more true now than it's ever been in NFL history.
T-Mac tweets and says, afternoon, gents and fellow listeners. Number 7 is my favorite quarterback of all time. He's referencing Ben Roethlisberger, for those who might be unaware. However, there's always been reports about him not having the greatest work ethic. If he had Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees type work ethic, do you think he could have had a little bit more success? Kind of reminds me of like the NFL version of Shaq. Thanks, guys. That's funny, the Shaq parallel. Listen,
I didn't know that's a knock on Shaq. I have no idea. I don't know the Shaq history, but
well, I think a lot of people say, now that T-Mac points it out, that makes sense. A lot of people say similar things about Shaq that they did about Ben. Crazy gifted, great athlete, incredible player. But if he would have been a little more dedicated in the offseason and to his training regimens and diets and that stuff, it could have had a better career. Listen, there have been a lot smarter football people that have said that about number 7 than me. But so, I mean, I guess the answer is probably.
I mean, I doubt it would have been worse.
I doubt he would have been worse. That's a good way to put it.
But it's hard to get much better.
that is.
I mean, what is he, the 12th, the 15th best quarterback that's ever walked the planet?
Ooh, you might be starting some fights with people there.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I haven't done a quarterback list in a long time, but I'm putting Rodgers, Brady, Mahomes. I mean, you could. That's pretty good praise.
12 to 15 is still pretty good praise, but I think most Steelers fans would probably want to fist fight you in the parking lot if you didn't say Ben was a top 10 quarterback of all time.
Wow. I mean,
but maybe,
Favre, Rodgers.
Maybe that's an exercise we'd have to do in the offseason.
Yeah. I mean, I did it once, and I think I had him like 11 or 12.
Okay.
And I had him ahead of Bradshaw. I don't know if Mahomes was in the mix at that point or when I did it. I mean, he's a no-brainer Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he's a no-brainer Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
You know, that Shaq comparison is interesting, though. Because both, I mean, both are all-timers. Both, it was, said that they didn't have the greatest work ethics, as you kind of point out. That's interesting, though. I don't know. I guess we'll never know.
I definitely think with most athletes, if they worked harder, that probably would be better. There are some that overwork.
Like Antonio Brown.
And I also think there are some that need the time away and everyone's mind is different. And I'm not defending Ben because we're on Steeler Nation Radio, but maybe his approach was the way that he could play the best. I mean, just everyone's different. I'm not a psychologist. You know what I mean?
It's a really good call.
Yeah.
Some people, it's like they have to be loose. They have to be laid back. Yeah. They can't be constantly worried about the next thing and studying every single minute detail and like working out 8 days a week.
Like if Shaq stayed after practice for 2 hours every day and only shot free
throws, I knew that's where you were going to go with that.
He might not have been in as good a headspace on game day. You know what I mean?
It's a good way to round this thing out. Fun show today.
He's losing his mind. Like, I can't shoot any more free throws.
Some guys, the mental state is almost more important than the physical state. It really is. Yeah. All these guys tick differently. That will do it for us today. Great questions for today. We'll get into more tomorrow on Friday, obviously. Tomorrow, we're going to do a beefy 7-round mock draft.
Ooh, that's going to take some
however long that takes us. And then we are going to hit the tweets, hit the YouTube comments to have some fun on a Friday. So it will be a laid-back show tomorrow.
Love it.
On Friday. Big thanks to Nate Dogg, Nathan on the ones and twos, TV, Mr. TV on the video side producing. For Matt Williamson, I'm Wes Uhler. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow. As always, you know where to find us. It's on your 24/7 home of the black and gold, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network.